Hi and welcome to a new video on Soviet coins, which had some last minute changes when I realized that the coins here at the top are not Soviet at all, which confused me and had me research more. When I realized that turning on the coins, they're actually while using Cyrillic, this is not the coat of arms of the Soviet Union. It's Bulgaria. So yeah. So that meant that I don't actually have any 50 kopeck or newer 20 kopeck coins. But I have these, I have those, and those are the remaining ones. Shall we go over some history? The Soviet ruble was the currency of the Soviet Union. It replaced the Russian ruble, and there were many iterations of the Soviet rubles, starting in, well, there were revolutionary civil war issues of the ruble by the communists. But by 1922 you had a proper Soviet ruble. There was a paper ruble, whose value wasn't tied to anything at all. Then there was the gold ruble, which had adopted the gold standard. So while the gold ruble largely kept its value, the paper ruble saw some awful hyperinflation. Not Germany or Zimbabwe levels of inflation, but in the hundreds of thousands and millions. Anyway, the gold ruble and the early paper rubles were replaced. So by 1924 we would have another ruble. Was it the third ruble? I will correct myself if I'm wrong. Some coins of the third rubles we have on the table right now, but most of the coins are from the fourth and final ruble. The third ruble lasted from 1924 until 1961, when it was redenominated into 1/10 for every old ruble to a new ruble. It wasn't that large of a redenomination, but it happened. So shall we begin? We can start from the bottom. The ruble was subdivided into 100 kopecks, and the ruble, if I have read correctly, is the world's first decimal currency, all the way back in around the year 1700, adopted by Peter the Great, who was a great westernizer in Russia. So the denominations that we have are the 1, the 2, the 3, the 5, the 10, the 15th, the 20th. Was there a 25 and a 50th kopeck? A 50th 50 kopeck is half a ruble, and not in the third ruble there wasn't a ruble coin, but in the fourth ruble there was. And many of the 1 ruble coins were commemorative coins, commemorating certain events or people or such. But let's start with the 3 ruble. This one is from 1976. It's just a simple 3, and it says kopeck in Russian with the year. And on the other side we have, of course, the coat of arms of the Soviet Union. Due to being a small coin, you don't have that much detail, so you don't actually see the different languages that would otherwise be on the reef, on the sides here. Then you got the abbreviation of the Soviet Union, the USSR, in Cyrillic, the Russian alphabet. So we have another one from 1965 and another one from 1961. These are the same except for the year. 1961 was the year that this 4th ruble was introduced. But prior to the introduction of the 4th ruble, we had the 3rd ruble, of which this one is. This particular specimen is from 1953. And you can see that although the coat of arms is similar, or perhaps the coat of arms is perhaps identical, but the lettering, the font of the letters, differs between the two. But the coat of arms itself is pretty much the same. But going back, we also have the second, the 2 kopeck is one from 1982. And of course they also feature the Soviet coat of arms and the abbreviation of the USSR. Another one from 1968, 1961 I believe. First one of the 4th ruble. And an older 3rd ruble 2 kopeck. We can also feature the Soviet coat of arms, but with the old USSR letters. They are not very interesting coins. They are rather basic, simple, and straight to the point. And of course, finally, we have the 1 kopeck 100th of a ruble. Here's one from 1987, which we can see carries, surprise, surprise, the Soviet coat of arms. We have another one from 1972, 1961, and we also have a 3rd ruble kopeck from 1954 with the Soviet coat of arms. And then we have another one from 1937. Let's check out if that differs anything. No, it's just the Soviet coat of arms. Another fun fact that in 1947 there was a monetary reform in the Soviet Union. The coinage was unchanged, although the old banknotes were withdrawn and new banknotes were issued. This was in order to remove currency from circulation to stop wealth hoarding from the Second World War. In other words, to impoverish the people of the Soviet Union to not carry on with any earned wealth that they might have gotten during the war. So just a limited number of banknotes from the old ones were allowed to be converted to the new ones. But any coins were remained unchanged. So I guess if you had the coins in high amounts, your wealth wouldn't be affected. But you most likely had your wealth in plenty of banknotes. Moving on, we have the 10 kopeck, 1/10 of a ruble, 1976. I'm not even gonna comment what is featured on the back. Another original 4th ruble, 4th 10 kopeck from the 4th ruble. And we also have, so the Soviet Union are rather interesting in that they have so many denominations, not like just 1, 2, 5, 10 or 25 denominations. No, they got 1, 2, 3, a rather rare denomination, 5, 10 and 15, as well as 20 and then 50. But these are the 15 kopeck. Finally, we have a different one. Perhaps the most interesting thing with this video. This is another older design of the 3rd ruble, 15 kopeck. With surprise, surprise. Now it's the front that's interesting on that one. But as it turns out that these ones were Bulgarian and not Soviet at all, I unfortunately do not have. But interestingly enough, it seems like the Bulgarians simply copied the designs, you can see that they are very similar in designs from the Soviet Union. But the name Stotinka, I believe it's pronounced, and kopeck are of course different, which I somehow didn't notice, me being the amateur that I am. Anyway, but I have this one, which is a 1930s, to be specific, a 1933 20 kopeck coins, because the older third ruble series of coins, I'm not sure if it's included that one, which was from that one. That one is from 1937. There was the last series of Soviet coins, so the third ruble was introduced in 1935. So that one is part of that series. This one is a bit older. This is a series introduced in 1931, replacing the older coins, which were actually during the 1920s minted during according to Tsarist mintage rules, which demanded the usage of silver, meaning that the 1920s larger denomination of kopeck coins like 10, 20 and 50 were actually silver coins, between 50 and 90%, I believe. So these ones were introduced while the older ones were turned in and melted away due to the ruble losing value, with the coins being worth more in metal than the actual currency. So these non-silver coins were introduced in 1931 to replace them. This is one. This one is the one most unique here, with more text. I believe it probably says "Workers of the World Unite." The Soviet Union in its early days being more international oriented and in favor of a world revolution. Well, I was also trying to find my ruble banknotes from this era. I somehow have displaced them. Or perhaps they're in that notebook that I have. Anyway, there will be a future video on Russian rubles, so they can instead be featured in that video. Now, this wasn't much, but I hope you find it at least somewhat interesting. Thank you for watching.